Thank you for joining this webinar that we've got running today on One Stop Insurance on cyber insurance. So just to give you a little bit of an introduction on who ADM are first of all, and then I'll pass over to Anna, who's going to give you a great talk today. So ADM are a multi-award-winning technology services company. We're based in Canterbury and we serve the southeast of the UK and now even further beyond post-lockdown. We always seek to understand the challenges that our clients face and resolve them with the use of IT. And we've been doing that successfully for over 39 years. We work with customers in various sectors, including professional practices, manufacturers, charity and education, as well as logistics and distribution. We usually find the majority of our clients fall between the 15 to 150 users range, but we can see that progressing as well. We have over 75 members of staff, 3/4 of whom are technical or involved with service delivery to some extent, and every day over 7,500 users, more now as well, counting, and across 500 customers rely on our help desk to support their IT systems and their businesses. Many of our clients have been with us now for over 20 years. We're one of the most successful Microsoft resellers in the UK, being in the top 20 partners out of several thousand of them. And we look after our clients, which is why we've won numerous awards for customer service. We also look after our staff, which is why our average length of service is 11 years. So we've come a long, long way since we established ourselves as an IT business in 1984. And a lot has changed since then, but we're really proud to continue to uphold our excellent standards of service and expertise. I'm now going to hand over to Anna at One Stop Insurance, who's going to give you a fantastic talk on cyber insurance, some really useful info here. So do take notes as you go. And yes, without further ado, I'll pass over to Anna.
Thank you, Isaac. If you can click onto the next slide, then I will dive straight in with some icebreakers. Okay, so this is something you probably see on social media a fair amount, and maybe you've even decided what your summer cocktail name might be. But I wanted to give you some facts about this. 39% of people have their pets' names in their password. 75% of people say that passwords are frustrating. Do you agree? 43% have shared their password with somebody. 59% of people use their name or their birthday within their passwords. 52% reuse the same password for multiple accounts. And a 2019 survey by Google said that 24% have ABC123 or password or 123456 as a password. If this is you, you need to address that really quickly. But really, it's just about thinking about what information you're putting out in the public domain, because we need to start thinking more about keeping ourselves safe. Next slide, please, Isaac. So, One Stop Insurance. I've got 14 years experience in the insurance industry. I started by selling home and car insurance, and I worked my way up into commercial. So facts, well, last year I was nominated for an Inspiring Woman Award. I've worked for BBC Question Time, and I insure the wind turbines that are on top of the O2, or I broke them to the insurer. One Stop was established in the early 90s. The founder was Alan Hiscox. We have got our MD, who is Richard, and I was promoted to Relationship Director nearly 2 years ago. There's pros of using a broker, because as an insurance broker, you've got different options. You've got an insurance company, an insurance broker, or maybe even going online. So why an insurance broker? Well, we're independent. There's less points of contact, technically easier to get hold of because we don't make you sit on hold for hours. And actually 78.6% of insurance premiums in the UK are now paid through a broker. So at One Stop, we specialise in church and charity insurance, commercial, professional indemnity, and of course cyber. Why cyber? Well, actually, do you know, this product was born because of a gap in the market. But when the first products came to market, it was very much something that would already cover pretty much everything that an antivirus did. And that was something that I saw, and I wanted to sort of explore a little bit more and understand, you know, why would we sell that? Because the restrictions would be all of these things that antivirus already protect. If your antivirus is updated, then if they happen to get through your antivirus, which is really unlikely, then it would be paid out. So that's changed an awful lot over the years, particularly around GDPR and things. So it's really about getting into why it's important, what's I find really interesting about it, and we've got the future of cyber insurance as well, because it's still growing. We've got apps, we've got a potential professional indemnity combo, so you can buy the two to sit side by side, but we'll get into that more. Next slide, please. Okay, so I've got some claims examples for you. I find it really good to talk about insurance from a basis of experience. What do we already know? I've got 3 examples here. Has anyone had a web call in the last 3 years? I'm guessing the answer is almost definitely yes. So there was a particular web call platform, that had to make a claim on their cyber insurance. It was because user accounts were being breached, which is the importance, of course, of using different passwords. Web call platform was not validating, protecting their users, and they actually lost over 500 million usernames and passwords. The biggest exposure of who was hacked in that particular scenario was the Prime Minister at the time. That claim actually came to £84 million. This particular platform actually went from 10 million users daily to 300 million users daily by April 2020 for obvious reasons. But it was the following implications, really. So the organisation that ran this web call platform, it had a massive financial impact, obviously, having it hacked, being breached. It was operational, so they had to then invest in better security. There was obviously a huge amount of compliance, GDPR, and the penalties were levied by the regulators, and the reputational damage. Multiple organisations actually banned this particular platform that was affected. And GDPR, in fact, did you know that the ICO will charge between £40 and £2,900 to investigate a breach of a GDPR complaint? So if someone complains about your business, they could be the cost that you might be faced with. So the next one is the chap with his head on the laptop there. I'm sure we've all felt like this at times. But there was a company that provided back office accountancy support, and they were installing MFA, multi-factor authentication, on their company computers and laptops. During this time, an employee actually left the laptop on the train. This laptop was 7 days away from its MFA install. Really unfortunate. Somebody picked up, got into the wrong hands, and the hacker accessed the wider network. The hacker upgraded the permissions to admin and encrypted the whole system. He sent a ransom to the client, and the client went to a very well-known large IT company rather than contacting their cyber insurance company. This delayed things. They really you need to jump on. If you've got cyber insurance, jump onto the underwriters, the claims department, before we do anything at all. Because the cyber system forensics were then required. They had to get involved because it had gone that little bit further. The ransom was £2 million. The additional costs and delay due to the business being down was another £1 million. MFA would have prevented this whole claim, and the difference between it would have been the difference between an £800 claim for a laptop and a £3 million claim for a cyber attack, which was the settlement of that one. So why would MFA have prevented that? Well, because the second device authentication would have stopped the hacker and acted as a notification of the event if the device was asked. But we will look at MFA a little bit more later in the slides. So the final one is a hairdresser. You're probably thinking that a hairdresser, a mobile hairdresser at that, if they were to be hacked, it probably wouldn't cost all that much. Well, a lady nearly 2 years ago now, she had her iPad compromised. She stored all of her client information on this iPad, the appointments, her banking, her QuickBooks, the website, the social media, everything down to the die numbers of the colours that she used and details of allergies that people had. So it was really inconvenient when it got hacked. She selected a link from a phishing email posed from the DVLA. It's worth noting there that the DVLA are very unlikely to ever email you, particularly about something like a speeding fine. And ransomware was installed. It locked the whole device down, and she had no idea who was coming in to see her. She couldn't even access the socials to let people know. She contacted her cyber insurance, who actually helped contact all of her clients, which is an ICO requirement. You have to contact everybody. They covered the business interruption during that period of downtime, and they helped her restore the device. To say that that claim was really expensive, what it was, you probably won't be assuming that it's quite this much, but it's £500,000 that was settled for. Phishing is the most likely cause of a cyber insurance claim. Next slide, please. So we may all recognise this one, the bit of a disaster that happened last year, costing £4 million per hour in the Suez Canal. It is currently being investigated and will continue to be investigated for a while now. But there is a possibility that this was down to a cyber hacking. There's no real conclusive evidence still on how it happened, but there is a possibility that there was cyber involvement here. Next slide, please. Thank you. So let's talk about your home insurance, because I find this the best way to compare and sort of understand a cyber insurance policy if you're very new to this. You wouldn't buy home insurance and walk out the front door leaving your door wide open. You wouldn't buy home insurance and not lock any of your windows and go away on holiday and expect for your insurance to cover you when you got broken into. You've got to protect yourself first. So yes, the insurance is there to fall back on, but there's certain things that you have to do, like locking your doors and windows. So there's three main levels really when we're looking at buying cyber insurance. You've got your add-on, so your included element. So perhaps if you've got a certain provider's security platform, it could be that they've added that on. It could be that you've got a little add-on with your liability insurance or your office cover. And you've got mid-level cover, so something you can buy relatively straightforward, a little bit off the shelf, quite pre-prepared. You have to fit your business description into a box, into a prescribed job description. But if you fit, then you can purchase that. And then finally, we've got the Lloyd's or broker assisted policies. So the ones that for larger companies, for more unique companies, perhaps you just don't fit into those boxes, or perhaps you've got particularly high risk. So that's where, it's very helpful to have a broker to help you, but we will talk about that more. So there's a list there of the covers that you can expect to find, some of them, not all of them, the covers that you will expect to find on a cyber insurance policy. I've highlighted business interruption there. Now, I wanted to bring this one up particularly, we haven't got time unfortunately to go through every single level of cover, but business interruption is interesting because you will also find that on your physical business insurance. So if you've got your office insured or your factory, your premises, you'll have public liability, you'll have employer's liability, maybe you've got some cover for your contents, your stock, and you'll most likely have some cover in there for business interruption. Now, that's all very well and good if you come in to work one day and there's been a fire and you can't access anything. Your business is losing money straight away, and you obviously want to make a claim for that. So because there's been a physical loss, i.e. the fire, and that's going to have affected the buildings and the contents and things, you can make a claim on that first. You can then make a claim on your business interruption. Now, if you'd have come to work and there may as well have been a fire because none of your computers are working, none of your cyber devices are working, and you can't access any of your files, your CRM system's been locked out, whatever it is, ransomware, unless you have got business interruption on your cyber insurance policy, you're not going to be able to make a claim on business interruption because it needs to have that element of attachment. This is why a lot of the COVID claims weren't covered for business interruption, because COVID didn't affect anything physically. It didn't make you claim on your building. It didn't make you claim on your contents. It didn't make you claim on your liability. You couldn't claim on the business interruption. So you have to have that thing to trigger it first. So with cyber insurance, you need to be making sure that you have got your business interruption added there if you want any computer downtime to be covered. Next slide, please. So let's assume that you've moved past the add-on stage of cyber insurance, and let's talk about how you might want to buy that. And of course, you could buy it online if you're quite confident that you know what you're doing and you understand what cover that you want. That's an option. You've got the brokers. So the brokers will access the Lloyd's market for you, as I was talking about that little bit more complex element. Lloyd's of London is the biggest insurance hub in the world. Lloyd's of London insures some amazing things. It's not the Lloyd's Bank that we know. It's a building in the city where lots and lots of different insurers all gather, and they can share out percentages of risk and make a policy. UK providers, I always like to mention that unless you're overseas providers that may be based in Gibraltar or Liechtenstein, unless they are actually registered with an A-rated provider in the UK, there's a very high chance that things like the FCA and the Ombudsman that provide us with so much security when we're purchasing insurance won't be able to help if something goes wrong, if you have a complaint or if a claim goes wrong. So try and keep it in the UK, certainly with A-rated insurers. Next slide, please. So how do you buy it? Well, be prepared or get refused. When you're buying, whether it's cyber insurance or whether it's any type of business insurance that's a bit different, really you want to be as prepared as you can. Almost think of it as like a job application. You want to make sure that your business looks really polished, that you know what you're talking about, you know all your financials, all your figures. Don't start bodging things here. Get the information first. Assistance is great, but also it can be bad. So you need to make sure here that you're choosing how many brokers that you're working with. So if you take a broker route and you want to have a couple of different options, you shouldn't really be choosing more than 2, certainly not more than 3 insurance brokers to be working with. What happens is those insurance brokers, there's only so many insurance companies out there, the brokers will go out, they start presenting your business, your policy requirements to lots of different insurers. Eventually the insurers are going to say, we've seen this too many times, and they could even say that they don't want to quote because of that. The importance of a proposal form, well, as I was saying about, it's almost like a job application. When you complete that proposal form, get the right people involved. So who cares? Well, the people like the FD or the IT director, bring in your IT company, get ADM involved. You know, it's really important that you have the right people behind you to help you complete that, and that all the information is correct. And ultimately, the reason that we're going to go to so many extremes to make sure that that is 100% correct is because you don't want to find out that any insurance has previously been declined. So if you do have that policy declined after you've taken it out, you're going to have to declare that on all future insurance policies, which is potentially going to rule you out of some future protection. Next slide, please. Okay, the beat goes on. So really, this is about making sure that your policy is up to date. It's not about purchasing a cyber insurance policy, getting right up there, making sure that your ISO or your Cyber Essentials, whatever it is that you're using to keep your business up to date, your GDPR policies. Don't just get it up to a really good point, buy cyber insurance and relax. You need to keep on top of that. It's not about switching off. It's the stuff that you write on the proposal form. It has to stay correct and relevant, or claims just won't be paid. So just like the basics of GDPR or Cyber Essentials, ISO 27001, you still need to keep the processes going. There's no point in all that hard work and then leaving it. Constant health checks are needed. You can use your IT company for those. Take support of a broker as well. Book in a 6-month review if you want to. And you can also ask your IT company about random testing like phishing and security testing. Next slide, please. Okay, so best advice. Only 54% of companies have a disaster recovery plan. I hope that you're in that 54%. It's a really important piece of information and documentation to have within your company. Your disaster recovery plan should talk about your personnel, your IT inventory, your backup procedures, your disaster recovery procedures. You might have a disaster recovery backup site, equipment, restoration procedures, your cyber insurance details. It needs to have everything on there so that if someone else was to walk in and need to pick that up, they would know what to do. Next slide, please. So is it too expensive? Okay, well, the average cost of a solicitor is around £250 an hour. The average cost of a cybersecurity consultant is around £2,000 an hour. So I'd say that it's probably better than having to pay that hourly rate. But the ICO impact fines are something to be aware of. So the maximum is 17.5 million, or 4% of your worldwide annual turnover in the previous financial year. Whichever is higher, that's what they can go up to. You must inform the ICO of a breach within 72 hours. Do you know how to do that? Is that something that you've got access to? You've got it written down. The UK crime unit stats. Well, in 2021, there was an insurer who had policies with a turnover of £100,000 plus. They made a claim inquiry, or indeed a claim, on cyber insurance every single policy. So something really worth considering. You know, you've got a really large insurer who's got all of those policies with businesses of just plus 100k turnover. So it's a relatively small amount, really. Could be easily encompassing a lot of SMEs, and they all made some sort of inquiry. A claim on your cyber policy will cost you more than any cyber insurance policy. Something to think about. Next slide, please. Okay, reducing costs. So a lot of people will come to me and say, I want to buy cyber insurance, but how can I reduce these costs? A bit like, you know, installing an alarm on your house insurance, on your home to save money on your house insurance, putting a dash cam on your car and trying to get a discount that way. There are things that you can do on cyber as well. MFA is something that's really helpful here. So it's something that you know, something that you have, and something that you are. So you know your password, you have another mobile phone or a tablet that you can go onto, and you are, so your fingerprint or your eye recognition. MFA is the way forward, really, if you want to reduce your cyber insurance costs. IT company advice, absolutely invaluable when you're buying insurance, cyber insurance, because your IT company will know exactly how many times it's tested, or how many times the backups are taken and things like that. It's really useful. Phishing email testing, I'm informed that ADM will do these tests to staff as well. And regular health checks, just well filled in proposal forms. It's going to save you more money than any accreditation to have something really well completed and to know what you're talking about. Next slide, please. So what is an IT support? We've talked about how fantastic IT companies and guys like ADM are, but there are boundaries there, because a lot of is the excuse for not buying cyber insurance. I've got IT support, and that's great, that's fantastic, you need that, it's great. But there are certain things that they might not be able to help you with. Things like notification to the ICO within 72 hours. Is that something that they are going to be able to do for you? Are they going to fill in your forms for you? Are they going to advise you on what you have to fill in? 24/7, 365-day-a-year support. You probably will get that with your IT support company. However, hackers will usually hit after a before a bank holiday weekend. So Friday to Tuesday, it's out of 72 hours. You need to make sure that you are on that. The notification costs, posting all those letters to each client whose data has been compromised and paying a solicitor to write them. Your IT company is not going to cover that. PR support, potentially embargoing information to the press if that's what's needed. Ransomware costs, business interruption and data recovery. There's only so much that your IT support company can do. You need that extra layer of protection to be fully encompassed. Next slide, please. So what will happen in a data breach? Well, obviously all data breaches could be different. Here are 7 steps that the ICO recommend. But I actually think that step 1 and step 2 should be contact your cyber insurance company and contact your IT support company. And we're going to play this video now for you, which is advice on what to do if a cyber breach happens. It's from a chap called Tom Pelham, who is a co-host of Kennedy's Law podcast, and that is hosted by an organisation that we use to provide cyber insurance to our clients.
You've got to remember that the ICO are increasingly becoming very aggressive. They want to know why it happened, what happened, what are you doing to mitigate the issue. What we're increasingly seeing in terms of problematic issues is too much information being given at the outset. What we typically advise is that the first notification that gets in, which ticks the box for the 72-hour deadline, it needs to be a kind of high-level overview of what's happened. You don't need to start committing yourself to kind of second-guessing what's happened or speculating. So what we tend to do is recommend that we do an email notification, as opposed to what the ICO tell you to do on the website, which is fill in this horrible form, which forces you to commit to things that you don't yet know. So we tend to keep it nice, high level, have enough information there so that it constitutes a proper notification, but just give ourselves loads of wriggle room, because we know that in the next 2 weeks we're going to find out a lot more about it. Okay. So that's the main thing, really, not committing, and also taking it seriously as well, because increasingly the ICO want to know that you're taking this seriously, and you're demonstrating that you're doing everything you can to protect those impacted, and this won't happen again.
Okay, so as Tom was saying there, really it is about making sure that you are notifying the ICO. Absolutely do that, but not giving too much information over at that stage. Meet their requirements, but when it says submit your report doesn't need to be absolutely everything straight away. You can just give the minimal information that you're aware of. Don't make assumptions, and we can come back to actually completing that report later at a later date, because you've made that requirement of making that notification. You don't want to be caught giving too much information, because that's something that your IT company and the cyber insurance specialists can indeed assist you with. Next slide, thank you. So the Internet of Things, this is really anything online, isn't it? There's so many other items. It's not just about your computers being hacked anymore. We know of a case where an injection molding machines actually ended up getting their systems got hacked, and the plastic was only supposed to be recycled so many times in the injection molding, and it ended up being recycled over and over and over again, to the fact that when they came back in the next morning, the produce that had been created all needed to go in the bin. So there's a lot more than just computers, and cyber insurance can protect all of these connections, and there are things like personal cyber insurance that's in process as well, so you can buy up your own personal laptops, mobile phones, etc. Next slide, please. The future. What does it look like for the cyber insurance market? The market is still quite hard, which means it's ultimately quite expensive. But there are signs that it's not going to stay that way. Things like mortgage insurance protection are coming down. Directors and officers' costs are still softening. There's signs of the PI market softening as well. So cyber insurance will follow suit. It's not bad time to buy cyber insurance. There's never a bad time to buy cyber insurance. But some of the larger insurers have built a really good reputation, and that actually has made them quite overconfident with costs, because they were the sort of mass provider there. So if you are with one of the really well-known providers, you might want to check with your broker and have them shop around with your at your renewal, because it's some of the smaller companies that are now coming into the market to provide cyber insurance are potentially more competitive. When I say go and shop around at your renewal, give a good 6 weeks notice to do that. The more time, the better. It's not a case of just submitting and getting something back the same week. If you're going into the Lloyd's of London market, that could well easily take 2 to 3 weeks at the moment. But those new providers that are coming into market are quite exciting. More claims are being made, which is not necessarily a good thing. However, that does mean that overall the pot is growing, because there are more policies coming onto the market. So it will balance. The more new business that comes in, the bigger the pot, and ultimately the cheaper the premiums. They will end up going down. So that's the future of cyber insurance. Next slide, please. And I am here to answer any questions for you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Anna. I'm going to take over here for just a minute. Thanks for an absolutely fantastic talk on all things cyber insurance, as it always is.
Thank you.
And some tips there as well. That's absolutely brilliant. Yes, so I just wanted to take over briefly. Obviously, Anna's contact details are there up on the screen. If you are not with us already, or if you're looking to come to some more events like these, we also do in-person events as well. I'm going to run through a couple of things. So we have some Microsoft Excel, Word and Teams training going on with a Microsoft certified trainer. They are hosted remotely over a couple of days, over usually 4 days, an hour a day or so. And they are absolutely brilliant. They have some top tips and tricks that you need to get better at Excel, Word and PowerPoint and some other bits. I mean, I've done them myself. I know our entire team has done them, and it still blows my mind how much I don't know about these Microsoft Office programs that are sort of hidden deep within the settings. So those are really good. We are also doing a talk on layered cybersecurity and AI. So obviously AI being the buzzword at the moment. So this is really a seminar for business owners and IT managers, obviously finance directors and high level employees as well. That's going to be in Microsoft's offices in London, Paddington. And I'm going to be covering off ADM Security Onion, which is our approach to layered security, sort of layer by layer, looking at different AI tools that we can use to boost efficiency and productivity, looking at how we may be prompting these tools in the wrong way, and how to maybe make that better as well. And obviously talking about the new AI tools that Microsoft is coming out with at the moment. That's on the 13th of June between 10 and 1 p.m, including lunch. So do let us know if you'd like to attend any of those sessions that I've mentioned. I'll quickly give you the contact details, so you can email us at sales@adm-computing.co.uk. That's sales@adm-computing.co.uk, or you can give us a call on 01227 473 500. That's 01227 473 500. And for any other questions, please do either email or call in. Speak to Anna if you need to speak to Anna regarding anything cyber insurance. And thank you for coming once again. Goodbye.